coming out this evening. This varsity officials only meeting.
That's you.
And just so you can get credit, there's a little notebook in the back. Please print your name legibly so that Jillian can give you credit
That would be nice.
this evening's meeting.
What's up?
All right,
Hey,
so
how are ya?
our
Fine, how are
agenda for this evening is we're going to introduce our varsity officials who've been promoted. We're going to talk a little bit about ball handler dribbler. And then we're going to have a little discussion on giving and receiving feedback. So, first, we'll hold your applause to the end. Welcome the new varsity officials. David Sarge Hart, is he in the house this evening?
No.
No claps for him then.
No.
Kyle Kluwick, I don't see
Back to the
Kyle.
JV list.
If you listen, you'll hear him.
Right?
Just silent, you'll hear him.
Brian Reisland, accepting form tonight, was able to be here this evening.
Back to the JV.
Where's Mr. Pius? He's probably out on the football field, Thursday
No,
night
he's not. It's
football.
Thursday.
No game tonight.
No games tonight?
Hell.
Oh, maybe this is him coming in now.
No.
I know.
He's getting ready.
Plans football
Yeah, he's Dale Wilson. Dale Wilson in the house.
They're all circling trying to find
They
it.
might be. They might. Be a lesson to them. Get here early so you can, just like my
Who
gym.
is in the
You gotta go early. Get there early because it takes you half, just as long to get to the gym as it does to find a gym when you don't know where you're going. And on the girls' side, we have Matt Clark in the house. All right.
Stand up, Matt.
No.
Oh.
Nick Gallagher. I don't
Nope,
see
he's not here yet.
Gallagher.
A lot of people going back there.
Scott Kim.
There we go, Scott. Stand up.
Peter Strong.
Yeah.
Woo! Peter!
I read the system, sorry.
And Moses.
I want in on the money. Show me the money. Exactly.
An omission on the list is someone who fell in the COVID hole. Lisa Nielsen just walked in wherever you are. And she's on the bottom of both of lists.
Yeah.
Lisa, do you want to turn around?
I wouldn't go there.
Okay.
Never mind.
And I'd also like for us to take this opportunity to welcome, we have a couple transfers into our group. They are Andre Harris.
Nope.
Andre in the house.
He's not here.
Ethan Woodward.
Ethan's not here either.
Alrighty. Well, there's a thing.
A lot of cutting to do tonight when you get home.
We talk about bars and cars, and really you can include hotels, bars and cars and hotels. And we say that because those are the places where officials gather and you share information and you learn. And so we're going to channel our favorite beer or whatever your favorite beverage is this evening. And do.
Ethan.
Ah,
There we go.
Ethan.
You made it just in time. We're about to cut you to the JV list.
Congrats, Ethan. Welcome.
congratulations.
Ethan, give us a word.
Where are you from, Ethan?
Yeah, where are you from?
Sorry, I had a little trouble finding the room.
Oh, none of us did. None of us
We
did.
all got our steps
Come
in
on,
trying to
Ethan.
find a room.
And then the signs out there for you?
Well, the
These
signs
signs
are
are bad.
good.
The signs
are good, the arrows are terrible.
The signage was
You
great.
wanna set up?
Black there.
So where are you from, Ethan?
Most recently from Virginia.
Oh, I went brought you out our fine way.
Work.
And what do you do?
I own a restaurant.
All right. We're going to Ethan's.
What's your restaurant?
Yes, but the important
I'm sorry.
question is,
What's your restaurant?
I own a Chick-fil-A franchise.
awesome.
Oh, we're really going to
Chick-fil-A
Ethan's.
franchise. Which one?
The one in South Center.
Oh, okay.
Oh, right
Awesome.
there? Nice, okay.
Oh, we'll come visit.
Well,
I didn't
welcome
even know there was one in South Center.
Yes, now, oh yeah, it's down the park.
I don't go to South Center.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah.
Depends how many sandwiches John gets.
So let's talk about bars and cars. So that bars and cars and hotels. So typical gathering places with officials, and hopefully now that we're coming out of COVID, we can get back to, you know, gathering on Friday nights and sharing war stories and whatnot. And kind of what I want to take a little bit of opportunity, we've got some veteran officials in the house, had some questions, wanted them to share some words of wisdom to our transfers and to our promoted officials. Let's see. Brodzik.
Oh God, what I do to deserve
You're in the front row. Do you share any unwritten expectations of varsity officials?
Unwritten expectations. Well, I think it's written that we're supposed to act professional. We should be willing and able to help out the newer officials in the group, whether they be new varsity officials or JV officials or apprentices. We have to do that because that's the only way these guys progress. So that's my one thing.
All right. Mr. Minnie, same question to you.
For me is, how can I put this in words?
Jerry, can you
Trust.
stand up, please? Cheers. Oh,
Why not?
all the way. All the way. Go all the
Alright,
way.
so for me, it's trust. So trust your partners. If you work with me, I would tell you, you can blow your whistle all night. I can put mine away, but trust your partner. This is my speech, and you can heard it 100 times. Come on with the win, you want to go all over the court, but trust your partners, stay in your primary, and call the obvious, and be ready to explain your whistle. So if you blow your whistle, you can go right to the coach and go, Coach, this is what I have. By rule, by whatever, this is what I have, this is why I blew my whistle. And he might say, well, Jerry didn't blow his, you know, it's right in front of him. But you'll have an answer because you blew your whistle. That's probably one thing I would.
Mr. Dunbar. Unwritten expectation of varsity officials.
If you have a beef with your partner, keep it in the locker room. Do not allow it to be displayed on the court during the game, because coaches and players will pick up on that. And granted, we're all human. We may have situations where our partner's making a call we don't really understand. The coach may come to us as the non-calling official because we're the closest person there. We may agree with them silently. We may be upset with our partner, but we keep it in the locker room because when we're on the court, we're a team. Period. That's unwritten, but I think a lot of us have experienced that where we are not so happy with a partner and it goes out on the court and people see that and now we all look like we're not good friends. You good?
That's great.
You like that?
I love it.
Can I get an applause?
Miss Smolanich.
Oh. Well, I am actually glad Ira brought that up because I've been doing this over 20 years, and there was one year recently that I had a partner I had never had before, and it was our first game of, I think, 2 that night. And he said to me on the court, you need to cut down blowing that whistle, you know, don't call these fouls. And I almost quit. I really did. I was so livid. And at halftime, okay, it wasn't all about chilling out, right? Because I thought he said his piece. And he said, well, I'm evaluating you, by the way. Oh, you're evaluating me during the game? Yeah, I can do that. I was like, okay. So,
Who was it? Throw him
I
under the
can't
bus.
remember. I love. But yeah, I almost quit. And like I said, I've been doing this 20 years and I have thick skin. I don't care if the coach is yelling or some fan, but you are right. And I actually don't really want that beef going to the locker room even because, you know, you're just trying to relax maybe and reflect on what you're doing, but that whole business about you're calling too many fouls, I mean, I'm all about trying to keep the players safe and, not escalate it. And yes, I know some officials probably think I call the whistle too much, but I, good reason.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And by the way, Jerry, it wasn't me, she kept looking at me, but it
Yeah.
wasn't me.
It was not.
Mr. Sawyer,
Yes.
any thoughts?
Thank you.
I try not to think. I think as far as giving like feedback during halftime and stuff, if you address everybody as the crew and don't single people out. You know, and we all make mistakes out there, and you know, if you think one of your partners had some bad calls, like we have to work better out there together. We have to be stronger. But obviously, I think that'll make it worse if you go out there in the second half if someone thinks you're attacking.
You actually next, Mr. Saito.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback on what Mike says. You're out there as a crew, but you do own your feelings. So if you're uncomfortable, you express your feelings, but you do it in a crew setting. I'm uncomfortable with what's going on here. Let's talk about it and see if we can adjust. I may need to put some whistles on some plays. Somebody may need to back out, but we need to come together and as a crew. But you certainly, if you're uncomfortable, you express it, but you express it as a crew.
Nice reflex. So going back to Tamara, so this situation you had, was this when how did you wind up resolving it, or did you just deal with it and move on, or?
There was no resolution. I just crossed my fingers. I didn't have them again. And I did get them again that season, but I knew.
And what was it? Maybe it was your lesson learned. So what did you do differently when you worked the next time with them?
You know, I don't remember. I just wanted to, like, again, get through the game with safety of the players and calling it as I hope we both saw it, and no resentments, especially no resentments showing to, like, the coaches or the table or the fans. And I guess I was hustling more. Like, I was ready to get this over. But
Was this recently or
no,
early in your
this
career?
this was probably 4 years ago.
But you
Definitely.
still have been doing this long enough, which.
I was doing. I've had some partners that I
Oh, I'm sure
like
you have.
whatever, but
Haven't
this
we all?
one was really. I couldn't believe that approach on the court during a little. I think there was a timeout, and I'm like, we're sitting here, and he's going over this with me, like.
You sure it wasn't Steve Schwanke?
There's
I
a name.
can't remember.
There's a
I
name.
can't-
And you know, I think probably the lesson learned from that is, at the end of the day, we're all out there for the kids. It's not about us, and we should be supporting one another, because really, when we walk to the gym, we are only one or two friends. And you don't have to like the person when you get there, you don't have to like them when you go home, but somehow we gotta find a way to work together for 32 minutes.
Gotta respect them.
And find a way to work together, because really, it's not about us, it's about the players. And we're there to provide a service and to provide the best service that we can to those players. And so finding a way to where, and that could be, I think, probably from that, an unwritten expectation. So, Mr. Thornley, what you got?
I gotta leave, I gotta dance.
He's practicing. I'm gonna see you on Dancing with the Stars. Hold your.
Anyway, one thing I'll say is, I've been doing this a couple of years, I think it's my second year, and you need to go to the gym and have fun. You just gotta have fun. It can't be like a job, it's gotta go out there and have fun. Whenever I work at IR, we got a little thing going, the DFU, he can tell you what that means sometime.
No, I'm not.
Later on, but just have fun, just go out there and have fun. Do you ever compliment your partner on a call? Great call, it's good for them, it's good for the players, it's good for the coaches that you recognize something. So have fun. I'm gonna do that now.
All right. Get your groove on.
I like compliment my partners when the coaches go nuts. Good job, partner. Great call.
And Miss Nielsen, I'm
You
gonna
see one of those signs on the way out, rip it down for me. You little breadcrumbs, I got you.
That'll lead anywhere anyways, don't worry about it.
You look at the page 59, 260, and then the sign that says 273.
And one thing that I would encourage, all those who are new, promoted to the varsity, and actually really all this, is hopefully everyone has a mentor, so when you do have challenging situations like that, you have someone to reach out to that can talk you off the ledge. I had a situation where before I had a mentor, my dad talked me off the ledge. So, but having a mentor, someone you can talk to, and even showing up bars and cars. So, since you are new to the varsity list, what was your biggest challenge, frustration transitioning from JV to varsity, and what might have helped ease the transition?
Well, as Stacy alluded to, I kind of got moved in because of COVID and lack of officials and not really formally trained on 3-person, and so that was the most challenging, was just those little differences between 2-person and 3-person of, kind of that free throws, who's where and doing what and signaling this, that, or the other. So I think just kind of the feeling comfortable on the court, and obviously PCAs as well, just a little bit different, so picking that up. But I feel like I've been really fortunate with the crews that I've worked with that have been really helpful and
First
given
crew that you
really.
worked with was terrible, wasn't it?
What?
The first crew you worked with was
Sounds terrible. Yeah, who was that? But I mean, I just have had the posture of like being open to feedback, because like we're here to get better, we're here to provide this service, as you said, for the kids, and like their experience is based on how serious we take our job out there, and so it's been really helpful to have people that are willing to give feedback, to give like critiques that I can make easily and maybe swiftly, like in game, and do that and try to just get better one little thing at a time. So that, I think, everybody's involvement in mentoring whoever out there is new in your crew versus getting maybe frustrated at the little things, but your tone, your approach, your how you're bringing those little things to their attention to maybe make some adjustments will go a long way.
And Mr. Potted, congratulations on your promotion.
Thank you.
And then I'll open the floor to those who have been promoted and are transferred. Do you guys have any questions that you might want to ask of some of these varsity officials? And if you don't have it now, know that everyone in here is more than willing to, send us an email, shoot us a text, give us a phone call. We're more than happy to answer your questions. So.
I missed the start of your thing there. I was desperately trying to get back to Stanwood in time, but traffic wasn't allowed that. When I first started out 15 years ago, I was sent to a Chief Canaan to do a couple of games, first school games I've done. I walked in there and my partner was nowhere to be found. He showed up at the beginning whistle, walked on the court with a jacket, like a regular jacket we'd be wearing in Huron. And we get to the end of the quarter, clock's running down, we're gonna have a shot right at the buzzer. I'm looking 3-point, I go raise my hand, I look up, and he's answering the phone and walking out of the game.
Wow.
So, I'm thinking, holy smokes, I've never seen this guy in the NFL. But this guy, I'm brand new. Now, granted, I've been officiating football for a long time, so I kind of knew a little bit about it. But, this guy, unbelievably unprofessional. So I sent John an email and he responded back that I said, if this guy's brand new, he needs some more training. He goes, no, he's actually a varsity official. Which brought me to something that I've always said from day one when I trained a new football official. When you go out there, when you take $1 for something or $1,000 for something, I don't care what it is in your life, you're a professional. And you act like one, right? If you want to walk or you don't want to call fouls, you don't want to do any of that, that's fine. I don't have any issue with that. But come in, act like a professional, right? And so that's something that I think us as varsity officials, I've been with girls list for a while. To show somebody new when they come in, show them professional, right? Be professional. If you have an issue with them like you've had, continue to be professional, right? And that I think will help a lot training new folks that, look, you got a job do here. I don't want to hear you complain about how much you're making, because you took the job. So,
Yep. And we're recording this so we can catch the first part, and I think, and actually that it kind of bookends, because we started with Stacy and that was her unwritten rule was professionalism, so I think that's.
I'm sorry to steal.
No, I think
You stole it from me.
I just think it brings it home, you know, professionalism. I think if we do that. All right. So, we're gonna do, next thing I'm gonna talk about is ball handler dribbler. And what we're gonna do is you bust out your phones. We're gonna do a little poll. And I have several clips to show. And we're gonna get you guys to provide answers as to, based on what's in the question.
Do we just put Ira's name in for this? Wow.
It's great if you use your own name. And then I just want to say that the disclaimer here, you know, these video clips are for teaching, and it's not to demean any official, because we're all here trying to get better. And I was really trying to find some clips of some things that hopefully would hit home, and so there may be a few of us in here, but you know, as he says, we're all out there working to do the best job that we can. We're all going to miss plays. At the top of the list, you're going to see some of my screw ups. So, so we're going to watch these clips.
We watching them over here or here?
Yeah, we'll watch them here.
Okay.
And then we'll go through, provide some education. Then we're going to watch the clips again and see if the answers change. All right?
Everyone got that?
Yep, waiting for Leslie Smith, 508's presentation to begin.
I hope I'm not going to be with you after tonight.
All right. I'm trying to do it with the Slido. I can only get 3 questions. I'm going to try to do it.
Yes. I agree.
All right, so your first poll should be ready.
Look at the phone.
Yeah, so look at the phone, look at the phone, look at the phone.
Why do you? Me. Hey Leslie, can I ask before you do this, is the spirit of it is because the point of emphasis is illegal contact this year? Is that where is there an alignment there with these clips with points of emphasis? Okay, I'll show you.
Don't be trying to guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should.
Yeah.
And then there's a way to show.
I do love that. I do love this one.
All right, so it should be.
You gotta respond on your phone.
Yeah, respond on your phone.
The question.
Oh, this is an open-ended question.
Yeah, this is an open-ended question. So this first one's just a word cloud. So just kind of trying to feel things out. Because I've observed some things over the past several years when ball handler dribbler first became, they transitioned things a little bit. And I've noticed some things, I heard some things last year that was a little concerning. Athleticism, that's a good one. Aware. Culture. Contact. Speed. And then actually, if you put in a phrase, it breaks up the words.
Expectation.
Oh, we're supposed to do one word, not seven?
It's okay.
It's okay. I was just curious how this would
Have you ever known me to use one?
Never. Not even 2 words. If Steven says it in 10 words or less,
It's a miracle.
he's being succinct.
It's a miracle.
Coaches believe physicality, they're better.
up on the board, she's gonna play it, and then your answers are on your phone. So you shouldn't be answering yet. So she's gonna watch the clip. Those are the answers you're looking for that you have.
It's a foul.
Your answers to yourself.
I'll play it a couple times. All right.
Everyone got it?
You got it? Everyone got your answers in?
One more. Someone said-
One more.
Yeah, one more.
All right.
Come on, who gets to see it 3 times in real life, guys?
I wish.
Really good at officiating. So who can raise their hand that has no foul? And can tell me why they didn't have foul?
No, not yet.
Oh, sorry.
You gotta do it on the second time through.
Okay.
All right.
Take it.
All right.
Stacey, do you want to get it?
All right. And there's your question for clip number 2 should be up. And there is play number 2.
Are you just collecting right now? We'll talk later. Is that
Yep,
what's going? Okay.
yep, we're just collecting now, we'll talk later.
All right.
And this, we're looking at this action right up here. That's good.
So you get the same 3 answers for the second clip that you did with the first?
You're gonna get the same 3 answers for all the clips.
All of them?
All of them.
Oh, I saw something different on that.
Give you a hint, they're all gonna be VHT.
Okay.
All VHT clips.
That's good.
All right. Your answers for clip number 3 are up, and here is clip number 3. Oh, hang on, that's not clip number 3. There's clip number 3.
What's the first initial?
Yeah, the first stuff, the first initial stuff up here on top. You know, I would have brought some.
I know we have some new people in the classroom. Does everyone know what VHD means? It's okay not to if you don't know what VHD means. Clarification. Ball handler dribbler. Just for clarification.
All right, clip number 3. Let's see how we're coming here. Here's your answers for clip number 4. And what the official calls may not be right. Or it could be, may not be. You make the call.
One more time.
One more time. All right, number 5. It's gonna be the stuff here up in the corner,
Oh.
up here.
You want that first initial call on the?
Yeah, this first initial.
None of that matters.
Yeah, none of that matters. I tried to clip it, but then I couldn't get the part I wanted it.
It's right there.
Yep. Yep. And here we'll start again. So it's just this initial part. You guys been watching too much,
Stacy?
too much Monday Night Football.
I'm straight line.
NFL and all that.
Turn the screen there for a minute.
We'll talk about why we're straight line.
Well, we talk about that.
All right, and the last one, we fire it up.
Funny.
That's the goal.
Number 7.
The officials call may or may not be right. All right. Okay. So, who's the ball handler dribbler? So, any player receiving the ball becomes a ball handler. This includes post players. High school does not have a post player. So those in women's college, anyone with the ball is a ball handler in high school. Your rule reference, 10.7.12. Become familiar with it. So, what acts constitute a foul when committed against a ball handler dribbler?
2 hands.
2 hands,
Continuous touching.
extended arm bar,
Double touch.
double touch.
Continuous.
Extended in terms of time or extended in contact?
Can't leave your hand on someone.
You can't.
leave your arm bar on
Does it
someone.
kind of stay there? Am I an account? Am I
you-
subjectively
you tell us,
interpreting
Joe.
extended? What does that mean?
Well, we'll get there, but it's on. So it's extended versus collapsed. Collapsed arm bar is okay,
So physically extended.
but physically
That's a
extended
foul.
arm away from the body is a foul. So we had 2 hands, and Mike,
Continuous.
continuous. Yep. All right. So next slide, please. Joe, how much is too much?
Depends where you're at.
Is that a rule book question?
Yeah.
Pure rule book, no context of the game,
Well,
nothing,
well,
nothing
that's what
that's
we're supposed
happened
to
so
do.
far matters at all.
That's what we're supposed to do. The rule book
Okay,
is our
alright.
guide.
But it's a great question.
So how much is too much?
I would say that, by the way, my name is Andre Harris.
Andre Harris, welcome. You're a new transfer, right?
I am,
Welcome. Where are you from?
Colorado,
Oh, what part?
Denver area.
Okay, and what brought you to our lovely area?
Well, I live in this family.
Okay.
Like to get it.
Oh, good. Well, welcome.
You said the most great.
Introduce yourself. I had a list of transfers and you hadn't heard yet, so. And you were gonna say? I know, we all were, so you weren't alone.
Tickets were gonna be
I
cheap.
would say, and I think it's, I don't know, I think a lot of officials, gets into this a lot of time of being able to gauge that advantage, disadvantage.
Mhm.
So when you say too much, I would say when that advantage is gained,
Mhm.
in terms of letting the flow of the game continue.
Mhm.
I'm looking for displacement, number 1, or a disruption of RSP.
Anyone else thoughts on how much is too much?
And it interferes with natural basketball movement.
Are you talking about those 4 absolutes?
Yeah.
They just are. There's no too much or too little. They just are.
So, yes, as Stacy
Number
says,
1.
RSVQ is not a consideration.
Okay.
Does everybody know what RSPQ is?
It's okay not to.
Yeah.
No, I don't know what you're talking
All right, yes, and what does that mean?
No,
I mean, what does that mean to you? When you talk
Can
about,
you repeat it
Well,
louder for some people that
if,
haven't heard?
if a defender is impacting the ability of the offender to do their legal maneuvering, then who learn it all in the sport, so, that's, I guess some people have a higher stand, like how many of those are violent, some are, all or nothing. I guess in a crew, it's kind of good to talk about it beforehand, because you wanna make sure everybody's calm and safe.
Okay, so RSPQ is rhythm, speed, balance, and quickness, and we usually look at RSPQ more so in terms of contact. So when someone's in a legal guarding position, and if the defender bumps the ball handler, then we want to assess, did that contact impact their rhythm, speed, balance, and quickness, as Steve said, to make their move. But when it comes to ball handler dribbler, we do not take this into consideration. It's just as Stacy says, these are the 4 absolutes. It just is what it is.
Absolutely.
These are absolutes.
So Joe, when you ask, well, how long of the arm bar? If there is an extended arm bar, it is a foul.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so maybe I think I'm struggling with ball handler dribbler definition. Is it a static player? Is that how I should
Go
think
back.
of it?
What's the ball handler dribbler? So who's the ball handler?
Receiving the ball, but they're not moving.
They could be moving, they could not be moving.
So if they're moving, how is RSPQ not in play?
Because these are absolutes.
These are absolutes. She can dribble or she can stand still. If I do this, it is a foul.
That's a foul.
In our book, it states these are absolutes. If she's dribbling or standing and I do this, it is a foul.
I see, so you're differentiating
Does that make sense?
between contact that disrupts or doesn't disrupt, either way, it's just a foul.
No disruption. If it's these 4 things
I got you.
in our rule book, it is a foul. And like you said, that is a point of emphasis this year, right?
Right.
We want to get out of the, oh, well, depends on the game situation. Can you give us more context?
I
No,
got you.
it's a foul.
So it takes the processing away. It just is what it is.
I'll just raise my hand right now and tell you this season I'm gonna have a really hard time with that.
We all have a really hard time.
We all do.
I'm
We
having a
all
hard time
have, we all
with
have
that.
a very hard.
I'm gonna feel like I'm ruining the game.
Well, you know, I'm gonna, remember I call a lot of fouls? Remember I said I call a lot of fouls? Because
Yes.
I think it's kind of garbage ball. And I've not had a hard time calling these. And that's why I think some officials are like, you're calling too much. But being that I've seen it, I've seen the game transgress. Because I've been with girls the whole time. I've seen it transgress from, dribble, put the ball up, be straight up, to it's really garbage ball now. And it's gotten to the point it's really dangerous. And it's been dangerous actually for many years now. And that's another reason I almost quit. Because I'm like, why are we doing this to the kids? Like, you get a busted ankle, not you, the player gets a busted ankle or a concussion over this. Let's just play the game. And if you have a hard time about this, just look at basketball from when it probably first began. It was pretty much dribble the ball, put the hoop in. People are just standing up, maybe they're jumping up. That's how I think we should start to look at it again, but it's very hard with the way these coaches train their players, because a lot of them do train them to play dirty to get that advantage. So
I think we have to take, these absolutes are taking out us processing it. Because certainly people go, for us coming to the game, it doesn't seem like it impacts anything, but trust me, and I'm gonna show you some plays. When we miss the easy ball handler dribbler, we have some bigger stuff to try and process. And as I said, call it early, call it often, it'll clean up your game. It'll make your game easier to officiate because you don't have to process fouls. And certainly people go, well, they didn't do anything. But if you watch kids, when they get the hands on, then the opposite player will do that. They'll swat off, or when they're poking at their stomach and they swat their hands away, and then they do this. And so then we've got bigger stuff to take care of, where if we just call the hands on, then we don't have to process the offensive foul, because we have the offensive foul because they didn't like what the defender was doing to them.
It is a slippery slope.
So, and like I said, you can measure up, you can go, okay, I got you, but then your hands are off. One touch, and that's it.
Second touch, stop.
And coaches, they will have a hard time with it, but if we just do it.
They're told this. I went to the NPSL meeting. We told them, we are calling this. So it is what it is.
So we just need to
Remember,
execute.
I remember when they first, what was it, 10 years ago when they did all the double touches?
Mhm.
So how many varsity officials, oh, I'm not doing that. I'm not calling a game like that. I don't know how many times I heard that.
And here's the other reason to call it, is one of the things they did in the women's game is they were trying to get more consistency in calling the game from the start of the game to the end of the game, from the West Coast to the East Coast. And so setting these rules so that we don't have to think about them, allow them to have some more consistency. And I heard someone talk about, you know, they work a lot of the NPSL, and then they come and do a Metro game, and it's more challenging for them because they feel like they can't call it. And then the game I worked, it was a struggle for me because I felt like I couldn't call it because I wasn't going to match my partner. So I should have just gone out and called it. Because there was some stuff that happened in the game where I think it would, if I'd called these things, it would have cleaned it up. And you don't have to think, and I think we're out there thinking, trying to judge, well, was it this, was it that? I mean, because we have plenty of other decisions to make. You know, when they're going to the hole, or they get, you know, is there contact, is there RSBQ affected? But the ball handler's the quarterback out there on the court. They're setting the offense up. And so this is going to allow flow in the game. It's going to allow scoring.
I think that's the easy stuff.
Yeah.
If
so.
you do the absolutes, like Stacy said, if you do that at that bottom line right there at the beginning from the tip to the end, it's easier to deal with the other stuff.
Yeah, Mr. Saito.
And if you don't call it, they never get into their not flow, but into their offense, and consequently, longer and longer shots get taken, and that means longer rebounds, and you have big collisions. So they need to be able to get into their offense.
And I tell you, I show up at Bothell High School and they go, Leslie's here, keep your hands off. so I'm good at Bothell, I'm terrible working the Metro game, but I'm gonna make a commitment to doing better this year, yeah.
So how do I, as an official, how do I think about RSBQ now? Do I throw it away as a concept?
No, but in terms of the ball handler dribbler.
That's where I'm going. Where is it appropriate to think about?
So when a defender is playing legal guarding position and they're maintaining, but if the ball handler perhaps gets head and shoulders past, and they're running beside them and bump them,
Okay.
you know, that's, and
I
they're
got
going,
you.
and they're going to the hole, you may
Alright.
go, okay, they'll get there, or they stumble and get knocked off their path.
That's a really considerable change, and I
It's
hear your
hard.
experience as well. I get it.
Because it was
So
hard
this-
for us. It was a mindset change for us, and we signed paperwork. It says we are committed to doing this. And you saw my first clip there. That was last year, so you can see I'm still not as diligent with it as I need to be. Ira.
So I think one thing that we should take into account, we get on the court and kids, you have one kid that's 6'9", 300 pounds. So I can extend an arm bar in here and have easy time pushing the tree over. You have another kid that weighs 90 pounds and he's barely touched and he goes flying across the court. So when you have the rule that's consistent for either side, right, it keeps everything a level playing field. Obviously you have kids out there who are naturally stronger because they just develop quicker, or other kids who are just getting into their maturity level. And so we don't want the big kid to feel like he or she can have the other kids just beat them half to death because they're tall and they're big. And then the kid who's not tall and big feel like, man, this big kid just barely touched me and I go flying and the official just passed it. So if we just eliminate all of the guesswork, right? A foul is a foul is a foul.
Yep.
That's the other part that I think a lot of times, and I will say that I've been guilty of this in the past as well. I'll see a kid that is just as tall as I am and maybe weighs more, and somebody will run into him, no call. You're a big kid, you can handle that. But to your point earlier, that big 6'9", 250-pound kid is gonna lose his temper, and I can tell you right now, I am not gonna try to, right? So that's something else we gotta keep in mind is kids are developing at different stages. So if we're consistent with the foul calling, then the kid who is really strong naturally and the kid who's not as strong, both can play the game equally because we're gonna call it regardless, and we take out the decision making.
Yeah, and so I think a good point too is when Leslie said, oh, when she gets into the gym, the ball, they know she's gonna call hands, right? We need to be consistent to make it easier for all of us. It shouldn't be, oh, Mike Sawyer's in the room, we can get away with all this. Oh, Leslie's in the room.
no.
I can't. You know what I'm saying. So that's why we're trying, and that's why the point of emphasis, because the more consistent we are as a group, the easier it's gonna be. Coaches aren't gonna, we're all calling it, boop, 2 hands, boop, arm bar. If we're doing that and we're consistent, what do coaches get mad at us? When we're not consistent.
That's the key word.
Right? So if we can do that, I'll get to you, Stacy, in a question. If we can do that as a crew, and we are all guilty of it, I'm guilty of it when I get a Metro game, I feel like I am not supposed to call that, but I am also, I'm gonna be better, but, so yeah.
We can let him play.
Yeah, so Stacy.
No, I was just gonna say, what makes this hard is that not enough of us call it, which is exactly what you said. The first thing that makes it hard is that that's how none of us played. Like when I played, we did all that stuff and it was nothing. And so it feels cheesy. Like the first, I would look at something like, I can't believe I'm blowing my whistle. Or, oh, I know I should have blown my whistle, but I can't. I mean, it takes a while to get over that, how we're used to doing stuff.
Yep.
But after that, if we're all calling it,
Yep.
and there's not just like one, JQ on an island and nobody else is, it's just easier.
Yeah. So no RSBQ when it's ball handler dribble. The other I know terms that are thrown out there is, they were going east to west. They weren't going north to south. I didn't call it. Not a thing. Okay?
And
Joe,
also-
sorry, Joe had a question before you.
Well, it sounded like you guys have had some, you said you signed something and you've been doing this a while. What's been your experience?
Well, it was introduced to women's college, gosh, how long ago?
About 5 years.
5 years.
5 years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago. And it was introduced in high school, and we haven't been as diligent, but when it was introduced in women's college, it was a point of emphasis for us that it was what we must do, because the collegiate officials the collegiate coaches set the rules, and that's what they wanted us to do. And so our small college group made us commit to doing such. And it remains a point of emphasis because we did good for the past, probably first, it was a ramp up to get there, and then I think we stabilized in years 2 and 3, and then the last couple of years we haven't been as good, so it's come back, and they've harped on us. And so it's just going out and doing it, and I'll show you a couple clips where I found that when I overthought this, then I had a bigger decision to make.
Did you like the results? I mean, what did it feel like? That's not really.
Oh, it's great. So matter of fact, I worked a game years ago. I was with Federally and Velco, and I think it was the first year it came in. And we had a doo-doo of a game down Auburn, and we came in at halftime trying to figure out what to do. I says, you know what? I bet if we put some calls on the ball handler dribbler like they want us to, it'll clean things up. And we came out and we're diligent in calling that, and it made the rest of the game so much easier. And so really, it's us setting the tone at the beginning of the game that this is what's allowed, and these are the parameters you can play within, and they either adjust or they sit down. And they'll adjust it, and it'll make the rest of your game easier. But you just have to put in the work, and sometimes it's a grind. But I was watching these clips, and I'm looking, the kids are better. They're better than they used to be. So we just need to continue doing what we're doing. So pull out your phones. We're going to rip through these really quick to see if your thoughts have changed on these plays. Yeah, push play. And since you've already seen it, we're going to show it once, so we can move on to.
Clip 1, 2, is that what this is?
Yeah, clip 1-2. First time around. Yeah, put again. Oh, all right. I think on this one, I think it should have been a foul on the offensive player because she throws her elbow out into her, and I'm in a terrible position to see this.
You need to be under that, right?
Yeah, I need to be more under. I did a very poor job of. I talked about being at the apex of the triangle. So if I'd done a better job being.
Should you be more sideline oriented?
Yeah.
Or?
Well, I'm already sidelined, but what I need to do is continue to step down in order to maintain a through look. And I start growing weeds. And so then I'm stacked and I can't see the elbow. Yeah, that's me.
You got long hair. I actually didn't see the elbow in the first.
It could be, and it blends in. So
She's in very good defensive position.
yeah, she's a good, yeah. She goes through good.
You have no color, obviously.
Yeah. And then the boss sent this clip because we should have had a whistle on that play. All right, play 2.
Well, and the forearms, I mean.
Can I ask another question?
Contact, that's not.
Did the lead didn't have an opinion after the?
That's what I was just gonna ask.
Did the lead say he seen that play?
You should've.
Yeah, well, that's
Well,
really
it
high
was-
for the league.
Yeah, there's like a
Really?
pretty decent.
Yeah,
look.
unless we have bodies to the floor, that's coming out of our primary.
You don't think that's a cage whistle?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm just
It's not,
asking,
oh my God.
did
It's
the
not
lead
like
have
I'll
an
live and
opinion
die.
after the
That's
play?
right.
Yeah, no, good question.
If she goes to the floor and like dies in her face and,
Yeah.
okay, let's go get it, right?
Alright.
But the lead didn't have an opinion on that play? I'm just curious.
Well, what should the leader, it's way out there.
Yeah, it's what, because
No,
we
I'm
talk
not
about,
saying
we wanna
during
make
the
sure
game,
that
I'm just.
we're staying in our primary coverage areas. And usually we extend when we don't have anything, we don't have competitive matchups in our primary. Alright, number 2.
This is a no call. Are you saying the second hand's on her shoulder?
Took her hand off.
But you're asking me to, right?
Yeah, I'm not asking you to, NFHS is asking you to.
But it's, I'm verbalizing the struggle.
Just tell the captains.
But yes, I understand, because it looks like it's nothing.
Right.
But here's the thing that happens, is she's got her hand on, and it's swat it away. She's got her hand on, she's gonna swat it away.
You wanna destroy all the foundational blocks of any kind of escalation or anything next or ever happening.
And she's gonna swat her hand away, or she's gonna throw her forearm into her face, and then we're gonna have an intentional foul that we gotta deal with.
Then we gotta do paperwork.
Then you're
You don't wanna call us.
Yeah.
Can we talk them out of it? Can we communicate with them on the floor and say, get your hands off?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Do that?
Yeah, let's be proactive, hands. I do that when they're coming up, I'm with them, I'm like, hey, hands.
Yeah.
I know before their hands even get there.
But you can't do
Well,
it
we
all.
know.
No, you can't do the whole game. You can't do the whole
The
game.
hard part about that part, she's in the upper, I mean, it's hard to get.
All right, number 3, let's get through these so we get to the last part here.
I scream, don't get your hands off, man. Then I throw. Yeah.
You were nice.
Okay?
Foul.
Oh, easy.
Easy, we still get 14% said no.
I know.
Here-
This is a
here-
foul, because it's a state arm.
But you wrote it.
Absolutely.
You wrote it right around the.
All-
You don't think you're penalizing the offense right there?
No.
With sidewalk.
And here's the thing, is you wanna get it out here, because certainly when they get in the paint, and they're going to the hole, when they start in the lane and we haven't gotten it, then we gotta be patient. And then if we have a foul, it is not a hand check, it's a hold or a push.
No, I agree with the call. I'm saying you don't let that continue to let him get the shot, because you don't think you're penalizing the offense by, he gets the shoulder across.
No, cause here, what's the message we're
You
sending, is
want,
I could
you
write
want
on you the
outside,
whole game, and
so
my
you want
game.
outside, you want the first call outside the 3-point line.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool, okay.
Bam, that's a foul,
That's
bam,
fine.
right there.
That's, I thought you were talking about the second.
Oh, yeah,
the
no,
second.
this stuff right up the
Cause like
top.
the second hit, I would let that play, to let him get the shot.
I mean,
No,
now.
I'm still
Right
getting
now.
this. If you don't get
But he gets
this,
below the free
you
throw
gotta
line.
get this, because what happens now that he's doing that, and this offensive player goes to the hoop, and the offensive player does this?
No, I agree with
Leave it
it,
on-
I agree with it up here.
No,
I'm saying-
I hear you. I'm saying it's a foul here.
Even here it's a foul.
This is a
And I
foul.
should've called it here too.
Okay.
Bam.
That doesn't make
Because
sense.
again, he's trying to get room, he's trying to go
No,
to
I
the
agree
hole,
where it
and
should
once
have
he
been
pushes
called.
off, we're gonna call an offensive foul. And the coach is gonna say, he fouled him 3 times up top, and now you guys have an offensive foul.
Yeah, but when he
That's
starts
not
going
gonna be
down the lane.
offensive. Do you see what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying, I also see the offensive player having an advantage with the shot, and everything I learned all
The
the
guy
summer
threw up a
was,
frickin' air
let him
ball.
take the shot.
It obviously got fouled.
There's, I hear you, if we have a push going to the basket, but this is before.
On the turn.
That's right. And
Yeah,
I hear what you're saying too, I was just, what they were
It's
telling me
kind
in
of
the
like a
summer was like,
continuation, like we
Yeah.
don't have the continuation in NBA, you know.
Well, it is, you're at Cook's Camp,
yeah.
cause it's, men's are different.
Yeah.
Men's college is
Men's
different.
college is different.
Yeah, and it was very confusing.
And
And
I
the
think men's college is supposed to be the same, but it's not.
No.
And even Jeremy Lazowski said it was different.
Okay,
All right.
4 is up, and here is the flag. Okay.
Look at that.
Oh my goodness!
Hey, all right. 2 hands on, automatic, good job.
Okay.
here up
It's
top.
on the- Just on the book.
Stacy and I are still straight line.
I mean, I think on this one,
Still.
I don't think it's a foul. I think the defense is playing pretty good.
He's step for step with.
So,
Well, what I see in this one, is this what you're talking about? I see two hands on, and then the offensive player's doing that.
mhm.
But where's, I don't even see what it is.
Well, I
Well,
don't think,
that's because.
we can't
on straight line, you
see
really
that
can't
side.
see
We
it,
can't really
but I
see.
Definitely see him doing that.
But here's the thing is we don't wanna be that good. We
Yeah.
wanna see hands-on like we did in the one at, Redmond where they were on. Cause kids are processing, and so they may put it on for a second or put it on, but we want it to be on. You know, we want it to be obvious. We don't wanna be that good. All right, last one.
Last one, 7 issues on the phone. And the clip. Right there.
All right, so I will leave you with, this is why you get the first foul.
Now the good stuff is coming.
Now the good stuff. Comes the good stuff.
Coolest, wow. Out of control.
So show that again. So you can see right here, and then we have all this. So if we call this first foul here, we don't have all this stuff to process down here, right? All right.
That's a lot.
Wait, go back, Leslie. Are you calling red contact right there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, red contact.
And the thinking is that white player reacts, elbows are into the screen, and now we've got a
And
big
then
mess.
we got that, and then we got the mess we keep.
So dominoes.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So again, making the easy decision up top, like Leslie says, before we have to make really hard decisions here, cause that's a decision to make.
It's counterintuitive.
You don't think White's holding it off with her left arm on the
Well, I think she does because red is on her. So if you call the defensive foul on red, then White's not trying to clear her out and putting her arms up
But
because
she's trying to bring her down to the level of the screen.
yeah,
She's trying to
but
force
up
it
here at the
down.
very beginning, she's got hands on.
I see your point. I'm not.
So, all right. So I'm going to turn over to my psychic Jen, and she's going to talk about giving and receiving feedback.
Oh, God.
Mike?
Right.
It isn't for you, but it's for you. No,
I know it is.
Just
Not necessarily
kidding.
written.
Hey, I make a point.
Cool. All right. Who likes to receive feedback? Raise your hand.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
During the game, right in the middle.
I wrote all you down.
I felt my legs.
You give feedback.
So what's the difference between criticism and constructive feedback? Who can tell me without reading this? Yeah.
When I yell at Steven every Monday afternoon when he has my game about how bad of a football official he is, but no. I need to throw
It's
Steven
sad
under-
that he gets ejected from junior varsity.
No,
I had chocolate, which I usually do in my bag. I would have gave you.
Actually, just, but being constructive is just, I had a game last year, in the 1A league in Emerald Sound, we were short officials, and it was me and then two officials that hadn't worked in 3-man, before, ended up going to double overtime between Cedar Park Christian and Bear Creek or Overlake, I can't remember.
3-person.
Yeah.
3-person.
So, sorry.
Okay.
And it was probably the hardest game I worked all year because I was helping them during the game with, two people that had never worked in the system before, just being helpful throughout and not criticizing and just being like more positive, I guess, is being
Yeah.
positive in nature.
Okay.
Because if you're negative, it's just gonna ruin the entire night because it's already not fun.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's a stressful game. It was for second place in the league. And, you know, I
Okay.
sort of knew what was going on, but I don't think they did.
So between the difference between criticism and constructive, you're saying is negative and positive intent.
Yeah,
Okay.
positive. You know, being positive about it.
Okay.
Just in general.
Yeah, anybody else?
Criticism is like, God, that call sucks. And more constructive would be, you know, that last call, maybe if you were at this angle, maybe you would have had a different look, or, you know, just, you have to give a kind of a solution to the problem, not just say
Oh,
the
okay.
problem.
So if you guys weren't straight lined all session today, you guys would've got more calls right, right?
We will both
agree.
And back to her thing about, you know, the saying, you know, you're blowing the whistle too much, right?
Yep.
I've ever been a
Perfect.
football thing, just happened to me this year. We have a young guy at back judge, he's really good, he's really fast, but he has a lot to learn. And one of the things you're seeing him doing is he's running over the cover play over here, all of a sudden he's throwing a flag back 15 yards this way. Well, we got 3 other officials covering that, right? So I went up to him and said, look, you're really good, and the calls you're making are all good. But I said, but when you throw that many flags into areas that you shouldn't be watching, you have all eyes on you from everybody you don't want watching.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
so I didn't criticize him, I didn't down, I just added that. About 4 weeks later, I got him on game and he didn't do any of that. Right?
Awesome.
And he came over after the game and he said, how'd I do? I said, you're great. He said, well, I took what you said to heart. Now, if I got over and said, hey, you know, like you did to her, you know, I'm done, I'm not listening to you.
Right, okay, cool. So although both forms are meant to challenge ideas or your ability, one is more hurtful than the other, right? No one likes to be told they're bad. I mean, unfortunately, we're in a position that we need to be right all the time. We think we do, right? And that's the biggest thing I think is the biggest hurdle for us referees. So criticism is judgmental, someone said that, negatively evaluative, and often accusatory. So yeah, we have too many, stop blowing whistles. That's a terrible flag, right? Good constructive feedback uses specific, Stacy says that, concrete examples, and we offer remedies for the solution versus just saying how bad you are, right? Okay, Smith. So what are some things that we can do when we are giving constructive criticism? Balance the positives and the negatives, okay? We gotta present a balanced perspective, like Steven said, right? It's helpful to be able to point out some positives in that person's attitude or output. So, like Stacy's example, hey, I know that I saw you hustling to that play. I think if we could've got under the shooter, we could've maybe saw that contact, and you maybe would've had a different decision, right? So we're acknowledging that we saw they hustled, and then we can give them criticism, because as Steven said also, once we hear like, you are this, you are that, and I'm gonna get into that, we shut down. I stopped listening. I know a lot of us stopped listening, right? And then being specific. Telling someone they need to be better, you need to be better, Stacy, you're not good tonight. I know. The coaches keep telling me you're bad. Right? So that's not helpful for anyone. So we need to be specific. We need to be specific on details on exactly what they're not doing well at, right? So Tamara, your example as well, right? They said you had too many whistles. Okay. Well, are they right whistles? Do you think I'm doing ball handler dribbler too much? Or is it to the basket? Like, that's not specific, right?
I'll tell you what a good official says, because many of my partners have said, well, maybe I could take some of those calls, right? So they're kind of letting me know you have too many whistles, right? But maybe I am being more like, let's get this at the beginning, get the whistles going on these hand checks or arm bars. And I think my many partners have like really said, well, I'll try to get some more.
Right.
Which is translating to me like, you're blowing the whistle too much. But it's a positive thing, like, then I can open up and say, yeah, watch that one number. You know, they keep doing this down here, maybe we can change positions and you'll see it. Then you can call it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Mike Sato said it perfectly, right? Sometimes I say, hey, I'm really uncomfortable in rebounding. Is there something, maybe you had a lot of misses in rebounding. Is there something I'm not seeing? Are you guys seeing something else? I'm not saying you have too many whistles, it just is putting it on me, right? And that's being a good leader.
And if I'm not sure why the official's calling something, I'll ask him what he's saying, what that person's saying. What are you seeing that I'm not seeing?
that's a great way to say, hey, what'd you see on that play, right? Mike and I had a game at Sammamish, Mercer Island, it was a shit show, right? We had a lot of illegal screens. And, hey, I had a lot of illegal screens. What did you see? Oh, they're too wide on their screens. Okay, now you know what to look for, right? Don't make it personal. And it's kind of going to go twofold, and it's going to go kind of later in my presentation, but it's really important to distinguish a person from their actions. It's not Stacy, right? When it feels like a personal attack, the individual is likely to shut down or be defensive. You want to defend yourself if you're feeling like you're being attacked, right? Then the last one is using I statements, which we just kind of talked about, instead of you. I statements are a way to express opinions by focusing on the situation rather than the person. You don't say, you suck. You are terrible as lead. You don't hustle. Right? I mean, there's all these things, and I've seen it on observations, and that's kind of like what we're going into is how we can give constructive criticism and feedback, not criticism, sorry, feedback to our team and our group and our crews. Questions on any of that?
I would say, I think we all have just, being a newbie here, I think we all have gone through some form or another of that. But I would think it's very important in terms of construction criticism, like knowing our audience. I've worked with officials at the youth level as well as the high school level, and I can tell you that, at the youth level, although they go up and down the court and make calls, their thought process and the things that we're taught at the high school level does not resemble this.
Yep.
And you can get an array of officials on a particular day to where they have no understanding of what we're talking about when you're talking about constructive criticism, as well as, well, I would say not even constructive criticism, just the communication part of it, to be able to get to solve the issue that may be on the court. And I think the constructive criticism is very important, but also it's just knowing your audience. And some officials you just can't talk to because they have a different agenda while they're on the court, and they may not understand that.
That's a great point. Sorry, what was your name again?
Andre.
Andre, great point. I love that. So some examples. You are ball watching. I've heard a lot of people say it. I've seen it on people's evaluations. So what are some other ways, besides what I put, we can say you are ball watching in a constructive way?
Trust your partner to stay in our primary.
Okay.
We've had a lot of double whistles.
I noticed when I was watching my area, you were watching it too.
We were sharing.
If I got that from Joe, I'd be like, I needed to watch your area for a reason. You required to chill, I'm gonna bring it back. So,
It wasn't directed.
I'm just playing with you. I know I can joke with you, right? Hey, I noticed we're getting a little late getting to our competitive matchups in our primary area of coverage. What self-talk do you do to keep focused?
I can't remember that one when I say it.
Okay? But
No, but I get your point. Yeah.
right? So
Right.
instead of ball watching, we're talking, hey, I think we're getting late to our competitive matchups. It's not saying you are terrible, right? You are ball watching. It's saying, hey, what self-talk are you keeping, Joe? And maybe he says none. Maybe he says, I use numbers. I like to use numbers, right? But it's again, a specific thing, and we're offering a solution to a problem, okay?
And on that comment, you said we.
Mm-hmm.
You said we, not you, not me, we.
Yep, we as a crew, right?
We as a crew
We're
need
on
to
the
do
floor.
this better.
Well, what I've actually done that, because I can't remember that, but I would say, am I giving this up too soon, or am I not taking it soon enough?
There we go. There's another great one. How do you like to accept the play? If you guys aren't talking about in your pre-games of how you accept plays, and your crew chief's not doing it, you should be doing it. Because I guarantee Jerry accepts plays different than I accept plays, and Leslie accepts plays different than I accept plays. And let me tell you, we are not that good to know exactly what's going on all the time of when to let that go and when he's not paying attention. Because maybe Jerry has a really competitive matchup with C, and I'm trailing, the ball goes, and it's in his primary area of coverage, but he has some shit going on in front of him. He's gonna stay on that. So if I know his signal of what he does to accept a play, oh, he's not on it, I need to stay on that, right? So if we're not doing that, bring that into your pregame this season. I guarantee it's gonna help you guys as a crew. Okay, what about you aren't hustling? You're lazy. What are some other ways we can say it? Sorry, and not using you.
As a lead,
How about we can beat the ball, if we can try to get ahead of the ball and accept the plays, we might have better looks at it.
Okay?
I was gonna say, if we, as in transition as leads, if we hustle to the baseline before the ball crosses midcourt, we'll be in a better position to accept the plays to similar.
Right? It's
Well,
really.
I need to hustle and get in a position where to help the two of you so we can have a better.
Yeah, maybe you lead and say, hey, I don't think I'm doing a good job of getting to my spot to get you guys in the right position. That's a great one, right? So, yeah, I believe if we get to our position sooner, we'll have better angles to see competitive matchups and see plays start, develop, finish. So, we'd be, even if you read it, I'll give you credit. Okay, what about you rotate too slow?
Well, and back to that one, what I see a lot of is that whoever's hustling the least or going the least tends to drag the rest of the crew down to that level. And what I do is if somebody's not, doing it quick enough, or, I just rotate the heck out and I just run faster. I kind of, I'm down here,
Yep.
Well,
Okay, good. Yeah, so what about you rotate too slow? Jerry, you were so slow, you were just in terrible position. Fighting your money.
I'm not good enough to rest 6 people, can you help me?
Need some help over here.
So this is bringing another positive thing of their intent and what they're doing and their actions. Hey, I can see you're doing a great job of being focused on your competitive matchups. As lead, we're the general for our crew, and if we can mirror the ball more, I think this is gonna put the crew in a better position to see everything. It's a mouthful, but this is giving feedback. So it's not a, hey, you need to give me, we're not in a timeout and we're giving feedback. This is end of the game, middle, halftime, right? Things that we're doing when we're evaluating our JV officials, when we're talking to our other officials, when we're talking to our mentors, when we're talking to people we're helping. This is all stuff. It doesn't need to be 5 words, right? This is how we can give constructive criticism. Okay? Your signals suck. You guys laugh, but I guarantee you people write this on eval forms. I didn't just make these up. I think our signals are important to communicate to our partners and the coaches. When our signals aren't crisp, we can confuse our partners and or lessen our credibility to coaches.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Right? That's not saying anything about Mike Zeta's signals and that I think they're weak. Right? It's saying how no. So it's saying, hey, this is I'm having a hard time getting communication from you. I'm not understanding if we're going this way or we're staying here, right? So that's a way that we're getting constructive criticism and we're getting the why and a solution to the problem. Questions? Comments? Anything to add?
I've noticed a lot of people don't ask for feedback.
Yeah.
I ask for it all the time. And it doesn't matter how long you're doing this, you should be asking.
I ask JV officials for feedback.
Exactly.
Every game
should
I
be
ask my
asking.
partners for feedback.
Hey, you got anything for me?
Whether it's good or
I see
bad, I'm
anything
taking
that I'm
getting
missing?
something out of it.
Is there anything I can do better?
How can I help you out?
Let me say this too, it's always good, even before pregame, maybe you're sitting in the stands like, oh, what's going on tonight, right? Like, how was traffic? Cause some people, they didn't eat, they're hungry already, or they got shook up from some near miss accident, you know, or maybe their knee was bothering them. So, like, I know I've had partners where I know they're not hustling because I know something's going on with their knee. So if people tell me ahead of time, at least I know what I can do to help the crew.
But this is, Joe, I agree, people ask for feedback, and I think everyone wants to have feedback, but the point of this is like, how can we
Yeah.
communicate it better?
Right,
Right?
I think this cuts
Because-
through a lot of problems though if you ask, and you make it clear that you are accessible and listening, right? It just makes it cuts through all of the gymnastics you gotta do to make sure that you don't offend anybody, because you've already signaled you're open, and I think it just changes the conversation completely.
I mean, I think it's good to be open to it, but I think how we give it, because I think if we just
I
tell you,
get that.
if we tell you
Yeah.
you suck, then how does that help you improve?
Right.
As opposed to, you know, I can see you, you know, getting your signals up, but if you get them up a little higher, it'll be easier for us to see or for the table
Yeah.
to see. I can see your work. So, I think it's giving information so that we can improve.
Because it's great that you want feedback, but you have to give it, right?
Right.
So that's, when I ask for examples, no one can raise their hand to give examples. That's a problem, to be honest. So that's where we're trying to, hey, let's find ways that we can improve as a group, right? We're only good as our weakest link. Okay, and so we wanna make our association better. And I'm gonna be honest, as officials, I think we are terrible listeners. We all say we want feedback, we all listen. I don't think we listen. Listening is really hard for people. And the reason is because when we're listening, we're thinking of what we're gonna say back, especially when coaches, okay? We make a call, block charge button, whoop, block. Sorry, I'm gonna do my high school block. Block. And then we say, and we're like, oh, he's gonna ask me about that black charge. Leslie, I got it, I'm gonna tell. And she goes, hey, Jill, what about that travel back down there? And you're like, oh, I was not prepared for her to say that. I didn't think she was gonna talk. So, because we're always already thinking in our mind what we're gonna say back to the coaches or players, we're not listening, we're not actively listening. Same thing with our partners. When they're telling us or giving us constructive criticism, we get defensive. We do, it's just human nature. I do it, everyone does it, right? We want to be right, we don't wanna be wrong. And so when we don't wanna be wrong, it's like, oh, Stacy said I had too many whistles. I really think I don't have too many whistles. I did ball handler dribble. And I'm not even listening to what she's, yeah, I'm not even listening to really what she's trying to say. Right? So it's really hard, and I've been really working on it the last 2 years. I think it's good for life too, I'm just gonna say that. That we have, everyone's heard it, 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And that if we can just thoroughly listen, pause, understand what they asked us, and then we give our answer. And it comes a lot more sincere to coaches, I guarantee, when, instead of you just going off on what you already have.
One of the things that works well with me, if I ask somebody, you know, hey, what kind of do there? If they give me one thing, I can deal with that. If they start going, well, you just, you know, 1.5 in, you know, I got my ears covered. By the same token, if somebody asks me that, you know, hey, what'd you see tonight? I'm only gonna give them one thing.
That's great.
And usually I'm gonna preface this by going, hey, you did this really well. You know, this here, if you worked on this part, then you probably get more of your game together, right? Because they're only gonna process one thing at most anyhow, right? So
Mhm.
why give them 6?
Yep. Because when I have mentees and I say, okay, let's work on these 3 things. My mentees come to me and I say, let's work on these 3 things. Like, well, what else? What would I be better at? I'm like, I just gave you. And you're not good.
You're
Right? So let's work on 3. But that's just officials. We want to be so good at everything. We can't boil the ocean. We need to be specific. So my mentees, I tell them, hey, we're going to go through this list. When you have 3 and we can check them off, we'll give you 3 more. That's the way to do it. That's what I do, personally. So.
And then, on the JV people, you tell them, okay, here's what I wrote up on you, and 3 games down the road, you got 9 different officials that gave you some stuff, hopefully. Pull them all out and figure out how many of those officials told you the same. The 3 guys in the gym together, the varsity guys in the gym together, if they're sitting together, they're gonna write the same thing. Pretty much, they're gonna write the same thing. But if you go 3 games down and bring out those sheets and these sheets, and if these guys are telling you something you this guy told you to do, that might be what you wanna change. But if one guy told you and then 8, 9, 10 games down the road, somebody else told you that thing, listen to them. They're going here and out here. You're doing good because nobody else told you this is what you need to work on.
Great.
That's what I tell my
Yep.
my mentors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You hear it 10 times, you're probably doing it wrong.
For gosh sakes, when we're evaluating people, make sure that what we're telling them is actually true, right?
Yeah.
I had somebody give me feedback about that I wasn't working the art right, and then gave me one thing to work on. So the next game, I'm out there, I'm working that, and I'm working that. And what do I get back in the evaluation? You're not working the art, right? And so I asked the two guys I worked with, was I working the art? Yeah. You said you're gonna do it, we're watching, you're working it great, okay? So it was just an automatic, right? Oh, I evaluate somebody, they all do that, they all watch it, oh, don't work the art, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And so just mark that down in the evaluation. Well, there we go again, right?
So we had a varsity eval guy that comes in, and we looked and see him up in the stands. We know we got to get a block or a handshake. We knew we see him up here, that's what we want to get, the first before play, and get it out the way, and you get the rest of the game.
I did on the opening play.
Up there, but everybody that got this guy knows.
So, and we're gonna go to that, cause you said, okay, we said, oh, someone tells you something, one thing. That's okay, he might work the art differently.
No, that's how I work, right.
And that doesn't mean it's wrong. So again, what Jerry said, if you hear it once, okay, listen to it, it's okay. I've picked up everything that I'm good at from other people. I didn't invent the wheel, right? I've taken bits and pieces of all the people I watch and all the people I like. So be open to feedback. So receiving criticism or constructive, this is where I think we struggle. Avoid immediately responding when I talk. Listen, pause, think, reflect, listen to your answer. Feedback can engage our fight or flight response, just a natural reaction, okay? Resist the urge to react, respond, or argue, okay? When we're giving criticism, listen to understand and not respond. We kind of already talked about this. But they are there to help you. They're not there to criticize. I think that's a big thing. I'm going to repeat it because I think it's a huge thing for us all to hear. They are there to help, not to criticize you.
Who's they?
Evaluators, your peers, whoever's.
But a lot of times it comes off as you're there to criticize me.
But
the way that's presented, especially when I first got here, because no one knew who I was, knew my level of experience, varsity officials would say, here's your evaluation, we have to go out, do our game, read it, call me if you have any questions. Or here's boom, 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 and it feels like they're criticizing, not presenting, right? So part of it is they, as varsity officials, evaluating JV officials, evaluating each other, we need to ask if they're open to that criticism.
And what was your name? Sorry.
Randy.
Randy, yeah, and I agree. But understand, not everyone is going to be great at this. It just, some people are natural teachers and some people are not. Some people are good at communicating, some people are not. So guess what? I'm going to be honest with you, you're probably going to get that. I can present this to our whole PNBOA, you're still probably going to get it. And I'm not saying you're not. However, if we change our mind to know that they really are trying to help and not criticize, whether they are or not, but I put it in my mindset, this information I'm getting is what they think that I need help with. Cool. So the person is offering feedback in order to try and help you, try and listen with an open mind. But if we go in that they're going to criticize me, then of course you're going to have this fight or flight response and be not okay with it. But that's why we're going the exercise of how can we give constructive criticism and how can we be better.
Yeah, I'd say hopefully through this presentation, those of us who are here are going to make the effort to try and be better about giving constructive feedback. And hopefully for those who aren't here that you work with and they see how you give constructive feedback, they may take notes and go, I like that, and they'll try and do that. So hopefully we have a bit of a domino effect. I think at the end of the day, I think as Jill said, not everyone's good at doing this, but know that, you know, the evaluators are there because they want to help us get better, but not everyone's good at doing this. And so I think if we keep that mindset, they're trying to help us get better, and hopefully we're going to post this up on YouTube, and hopefully we can tell Scott Federley to have his the paid observers watch this. Maybe they can take something from it. we'll get better, but we all have to work at it to try and get better.
On that note, what she said about the evaluators, can you send this to Scott?
I was gonna ask the same thing.
Yeah.
Cause we haven't had the evaluator meeting yet, so
Right,
we can,
it's next week.
we could probably get Penny to pop this in there or something.
Ari, question or instruction?
Actually, I'm glad Mike brought up the thing about evaluating, because since I'm on both sides of the fence, the one thing that I hear, other officials say, and I see it, is you may have an evaluator that's very familiar with an official, because they either started together or they, know each other. And it's really important that when you go into that room, because to Tammy's part, we probably lost a lot of officials, because an evaluator, be they varsity guys or paid evaluators, will go in a room, and I know this person because we work together, I don't know this person, so immediately, Jerry, you know that game we played last week, and we start having a little personal conversation, immediately, this person is eliminated. Immediately. And so I think the message that we need to take for ourselves and pass forward, and it needs to be a requirement. It's not a choice, it's a requirement. I think Steve made a comment earlier, people are being compensated to do a job. Okay, so when you go in there, it is strictly professionalism. I don't care if you've known the guy for 20 years or 20 seconds, you need to keep it professional. Because the last thing we wanna do is start eliminating people because we don't know them. And I think that's something that we all need to work towards.
Good point.
I've been on both sides of that,
Mhm.
where a guy come in and say, this guy, whatever, oh, we got a college game about this, and then he didn't say his mess up, but came to me and said, well, Jerry, I'm going, wait a minute, three of us, or back then it was two-man. So I said, two of us, we walking off the court saying we had a great game. And for you to come in and say, okay, I'm gonna pick you up to go to this college game, and then turn to me and then have a whole list for me. Then I've been on the other side, where a guy come in and say, oh, Jerry, and then, okay, here's what you two guys need to work on, blah, blah, this and blah, blah. So I've been on both sides, so it does happen to the young guys and guys that they don't know.
Yeah, I think we've all, a lot of us been both sides.
Well, I think it goes back to the similar idea of the ball handler, dribbler, we want everything to be the same. The criticism needs to be the same across the board. From if you're the number 1 official or the number 200 official, the criticism shouldn't change. It should be the same, or whatever you're the evaluate, but it should be the same for every single official, and it's not. I mean,
What do you mean the same?
but, or consistently.
It's hard because.
And I agree.
You got Harvard graduation, somebody graduated from Harvard Kennedy State, you got somebody graduated from a community college that,
I'm not saying it's not hard.
No, I'm just saying, so their language gonna be different when they speak to that same person. So, yeah.
No, and I fully get that too. It has to have some level of consistency, and it doesn't.
Yeah, it does.
I think the thing is, it can't start until we all make a concerted effort. Cause I'm telling you, being JV, being on the varsity list, being on the board, being an evaluator, the one big elephant in the room that we all are looking at and nobody wants to address is because we don't have professionals across the board, we wind up alienating officials and then we lose officials. Or if we don't do that, then we get on the court and one official doesn't feel like they should put in the effort because they're gonna get to the locker room no matter what they do. They're going to get criticized in a negative way. So I think in order for it to become the new behavior, we have to take a hard look at ourselves first, before we can criticize someone else, and say, okay, it's easy for me to point out what everybody else in this room is doing wrong, but I gotta point out what I'm doing wrong first, and correct me, and hopefully everybody else does that, and we get that. But year after year after year, we have this conversation, and then we go out on the court, and we get the same thing. I mean, here we are sitting here right now, years later, having the same conversation. So I think if we're gonna be serious about this, we make a personal commitment to do the right thing. And if you're not, then.
That's why it's a topic for tonight, right? I mean, there's reasons why we don't just pick these topics for fun. This is where areas we need to be better, PhD and feedback. I agree, it needs to be more consistent throughout. Don't disagree with you, but we gotta be able to do it within our group too. right? So, the last one is don't yeah but.
Yeah,
Don't
but.
yeah but. These evaluators are paid, it is a job, they're there to do something. We listen. I'm not telling you, though you shouldn't challenge or refute the feedback, it is okay to ask questions and brainstorm how you can improve. So, I hear you, what would maybe be a better approach? Let's say we're talking coaches. Hey, Leslie, you didn't deal with that coach really well at halftime, and then you had to give him a technical in the third quarter, and I don't like how you approached that.
What suggestions might I have for handling that situation better?
Right, so it's not a, yeah, but I think I was validated because X, Y, Z happened. No, she just said, hey, how can I do that better, right? So it's not, I'm not saying, don't yeah, but, and you just have to sit there like a church girl and listen to everything they say, and not.
It's gonna say.
Well, you know.
Really?
It's been a long day. No, so yeah, you don't have to just sit there and take everything that they're saying, but be respectful. It's their job. They're there to help, not to criticize. The biggest thing.
And I want to add, I've gotten this question where people you receive feedback on a certain situation, and then you get differing feedback in the same situation, and it's confusing. And people go, how do I handle that? And I've encouraged people to ask clarifying questions, so you can understand where they're coming from. Because it could be, it's a certain situation that they're seeing it in, which was different from the other situation. So ask clarifying questions to get clarity on where they're coming from. You can say, okay, I appreciate that feedback. This is what has been shared with me before.
Yep.
And now you're telling me something different, so is it in a different situation that I'm doing it, or is it something else? So can you help me understand what it is? So it's not a yeah, but it's helping you get clarity over the feedback that they're giving you, so that you can improve it. And it shows that you're trying to take in the information so that you can improve.
Well, if you see.
Oh, hold on, he's got a
sorry.
question before you.
Yeah, I was evaluated maybe a couple of years ago, or a year ago, or something like that. And the evaluation guy said, you know, if I was running down the court with my whistle in my mouth, he said that didn't look good, running down the court with my mouth. So I kind of didn't say anything right away. So when I finally got him again, and I had to ask him, and all of a sudden he denied, but I got it on paper. But
You know what I'm gonna say to that?
But you know, I'm just saying, so when you talk about he's trying to help.
Yep.
And you want us to be cool and calm, collect about it, and professional about it? I don't know.
Okay, but do you know what? Do you know what's professional to do about that situation? Do you know what's professional to do about that situation?
Well, that's what it
Did you
is.
get in your book?
What?
Did you get in your book and look it up?
Yeah, I looked it up.
No, you just told me you asked somebody else.
No, I didn't.
Okay, so you looked it up in your
I
book.
said when he came back.
Okay.
And I asked him, you know, what do he mean about it? He said he didn't say it. So, but I said, okay.
Okay.
I just left it alone. But you know, it's like if I would have him evaluate me again, I wouldn't listen to whatever he had to say. Because to me, it's not important. It's
Okay.
not important.
Okay. You can choose to ignore, but we still do respectfully. So if you don't, if it goes
Hey,
in one
it's
ear, out the
respectful.
other.
Hey,
Yeah.
it's all good.
And I know you are. That's what I'm saying. We just let it go in one ear, out the other, and that's okay. Because not everyone's gonna gel with everyone. Not everyone's feedback is gonna take. And Leslie and I talked about this. We trust and verify.
Yes.
If someone tells you something and you don't believe it, look in your book.
And the other thing I would suggest is if he didn't remember it, you could offer, do you mind if I send you a copy of the evaluation? Maybe it will refresh your memory for what you said, because if it was a period of time that passed, he may not remember.
I
If he
did.
looks at it, so that would
I
be
did.
good. And if he did and he comes back with it,
But
then
you still denied it, but I did.
and you know what? It happens. But here's what I hope is it sounds like we're coming in with boxing gloves on. You know, so I would encourage us to keep an open mind to receiving feedback. Because as Jillian said, some people are gonna be better at it than others. I think most of the people on the paid evaluators list are well intended. certainly there's people, just like we don't gel with everything, we're not all gonna go and leave here and go have a beer. But hopefully, and the same is the truth for the observers, but hopefully most of the people that you get are going to, are there and they're giving you information with positive intent. So.
And we're gonna get into role plays. One thing I'm gonna ask, when you guys were, before we got on varsity list, who on when you were on JV, went into a varsity halftime, heard them, or went into their pregame as JV officials? Okay? So majority, that's awesome. Who has invited JV officials into their varsity halftimes and their pre? Awesome. So, I mean, we talk about recruiting and retention all the time, and I think that this is a rough application that we have, and it's hard, and we need to band together. So when we can bring these JV officials in and say, hey, come listen to our pregame, or come in at halftime, you're welcome. Like, hey, do you have feedback? I love asking when they come watch my game. I'm like, yeah, come in my halftime, tell us what you see. Because there's a different perspective up there, and then it feels them welcome into the group, and then that's how we grow as a group and continue to get better. So I encourage you, it looks like you all are doing it, so I encourage you to keep doing that. Okay.
We had one apprentice come in, because the crew asked that, the apprentice came in and pointed out to us something that they just learned like 3 days before in the apprentice class, and that we weren't doing, and we're all looking at each other, they're right, you know, so.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool, so let's get in groups of 3 or 5. You can be at your table, but get together, pretend to like each other a little bit.
I budgeted at 8:30. Did I screw up? Because
Get to
I
know
don't get my girl.
Yeah.
I don't mean any disrespect.
Yeah, no, yeah, they weigh out. All right, you take care.
How are you two?
Olympia!
Come on. You gotta go, finish it. You can stick around for 2 minutes.
See ya, you're on camera.
Where you at tomorrow night?
Take care.
Thank you. Old clip or new clip?
Sorry, so you have to, but-
Yeah,
we got
Okay? That's the whole clip? Yeah. What's feedback we can give this official or this group? Constructive criticism, the things we talked about.
Get the balls in the game earlier. The trail was
So
it.
amongst your groups,
Oh,
yeah, amongst your groups, and then we'll get some answers. Yeah.
So
Okay, but act like I'm the trail. So you're talking to
if I'm talking to you,
Yeah, I bet we had a great game.
okay.
Yeah, but.
So I think we need to do a better job of getting closed down into position and getting set so we can see the entire play. We've got an eye on the whole primary. And stop, make nice, clear signals so that we can easily communicate with our partner and coaches to know exactly what we have on that.
Okay, like it, Randy. Okay, this group. Lisa.
So we're talking like you're the partner?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. We worked so hard. I'm so sweating.
Well, partner, it's just us, all cameras are on us, so we can take our time, do our signals, and they're not gonna start the clock without us completing that. So if you wanna slow down when you're doing your next signal, great.
Oh, I thought I did my signal really slow.
Oh, you were great. Let's just slow it down some more.
Okay.
Have you
Okay.
thought about volleyball?
This is all practice, right? We're just practicing getting into motion. Ira's group.
Oh, no, it's Dan's group, I'm just
Yeah, I'm
listening.
taking over, I would refer to me.
Dan's group.
Well, we said, first of all, I would say, right off the bat, I thought it was a good call.
Okay.
I think your judgment's really good. But like these other guys said, I think I would get down. If you could get down a little bit sooner, I think you could sell it a little bit better. And if you weren't definitive about where the ball is coming in, I think you would lend a little bit more authority.
I love that.
Oh, that's good.
Why do I?
No, that was great, right? He said, hey, and then be more definitive so we can help our
Thank
pros
you.
where the ball's going.
Exactly.
Dan, you
That
haven't been
was-
that nice in 2 years.
I was gonna go to this group, but I don't think they can outdo you, so I'll save that for the next.
We
No,
can
no,
see.
no, Dan, that was really, really good. So we'll do one last one and, we will.
You get a Starbucks gift card for Stanley?
Now, this is not two person, it's gonna be 3-person, but we're all varsity pretty much here, okay? So,
Definitely not our group.
it's kinda long, but we'll see.
Oh.
Okay, so,
Double whistle?
Yeah, double whistle.
really, look at our crew positioning, remember, it's not just the call, we're trying to help our crew. Ooh.
Ooh.
Bam.
Whoa.
Now, and we're gonna role play this again. I'm going to be who I am, Siege. So get ready to talk to me. And the crew. Okay, last time, and then you guys talk amongst yourselves. Okay. How can we give this crew constructive criticism? Maybe how they could do this better. Just got in the locker room.
You know the answer.
I just got in the locker room. Whew, it's a doozy. What do you guys got for me?
I just wait for the opinion of the second official.
Who?
Speak up, please.
The lead official, sorry. I would just ask, I mean, you both have a double whistle, I would just wait on that. I see what you, I don't disagree with the call, I think you have the right call. I would just make sure you guys are on the same page.
What do you mean by the same page?
Both officials on the double whistle, I think you both have a reason to call that. I don't think he's in the right position correctly, but I think you both have a reason to call that.
So help him out. We're giving criticism. So what position would you like to
I would
see
like
in
either
what
to have him be
what
closed
it is
down.
to do? So it's lead, my
yeah.
partner right here, okay?
I would have liked to have had him rotate over as soon as that ball is tracked down the baseline. Start, that's why I want to go back.
Okay.
Out there. I mean, if they can't pass it.
So let's go to constructive. Instead of saying, hey, I want you across the key. What's constructive criticism and feedback of why we want them over
If
there?
you
What's the
rotate there, you
reason?
put the whole crew in better position, because then you have the center is back, the trail, and now you've got this trail down there more involved in play, because right now he's out here, he's got really nothing done now. Everything's going on the other side, so you
Okay.
I would like to see 2 officials on that side.
Okay, what do we think about our other friend over here? What do we think about? What feedback are we giving this person?
Get a little lower.
Come on, Andre, you can do it.
Andre?
You're the new guy.
Andre?
I would say, or constructively,
Yeah.
I would ask, in terms of the angles, where, if they think that if they were in a different angle, would they have, seen that play differently to where the trail would probably be the sole caller on that particular play, and the seed would be the secondary caller on that particular play. The lead would be the primary caller on that play, or that might be a double area, but I think it looks more so like it's the lead's call, but it could be in a double area. In terms of the trail, again, I would just ask the trail if he or she thought that they were in a good angle, to be able to assist on that play if they needed, a question answered in terms of what they saw.
Okay.
But, pretty out of the trail's primary calling position, but,
Okay. The mic's back there. What do you guys got for this crew? What could we have done better? What feedback would you have for the crew?
Well, if I was the trail, I probably would have stepped towards the middle of the court a little bit as soon as he turned the corner, or she turned the corner. And as the lead, I would have been closed down and been on that secondary defender, because that's in the I think the center, if I was the center, maybe one more step down, free throw line extended. The center's a little high. And But I think
So you want
the way they are right now, I think because looking at the tape, the lead was actually stepping back. I think the center was the only one that had a good shot on this play.
Okay, but what would you be saying to me, like, how could we be in,
I think you could have probably stepped down and had a little bit better look,
okay?
but I think you're, even right where you're at, you're actually in a pretty good spot. It looks like your head's right on the play. You're where you need to be looking.
Okay,
And
Mike?
One of my first questions would have been to the lead and the center was, did you realize your partner had a whistle?
Okay,
Cause it doesn't look like they did.
okay,
One's punching, the other one is going, should I call that or not?
okay.
And it just seemed like, the whistle cadence.
So what if they say yes? Yep, we saw she whistle. Ricky, oh, sorry, he was coming to give me information, I saw she had a whistle, I was coming to give her information, and he said yes. What if
I
you-
would say, whose defender was that?
Okay,
Whose defender was that? Who was who was on the defender? And if
There
it
was two.
wasn't, pardon me?
there was two of them. There's two defenders.
Okay, and I'd ask which one they had and which, because they looked looks like they didn't know what the other person had.
Okay.
Now, that's my first question.
Okay, Lisa, what do you got?
Oh, I mean, I think I would just say, hey, how'd you all feel about the block charge call? Let them kind of share their perspective and say, yeah, I think it was a great call, the right call was made. I think it's a little bit more about how that call is visible to the public, to the coaches, to the stands, and to everybody, and making sure that you're in clear communication with your partner, about what is happening next, although the call was quickly made, ensuring that if there is a double whistle, that like you all communicate beforehand, to make sure that the right call is made based on who had the best information to make that call.
Yeah, right? So there's a few things. What I liked about every group is you guys ask questions as a group. We don't like being talked at all the time. No one does. So involving the crews when we're giving constructive criticism and feedback, like it's great to hear perspectives because then it's like, oh, okay, they want to hear my perspective on the play and the opinion. So in this play, because if we're doing a game and this is kind of an important play that I'd be bringing up, my constructive feedback was, first of all, we want to talk about our rotation. Oh, go ahead, you have a question?
Yeah, so, I mean, I do other sports. I do
And what was your name? Sorry.
Peter.
Peter?
Yeah,
Peter,
I do
nice to
football
meet you.
and soccer. And when on the soccer side, when we get evaluated by a national assessor or a coach, usually they only bring up, like, we call them key match incidents in soccer. So, for example, if that was a key match incident, we would all three of us go around and see what is actually going on with the play before the evaluator. Like, I got evaluated a couple months ago, and before we even walked into the we were already talking about the play in the locker room, and the evaluator walked in and didn't say a thing, and then said his piece or like what did you see, what you see, and then we moved on to the next city. I think that's the better way of doing it, like especially if your crew talks about what's going on and how we as three officials can adjust to make the play better, then it's better when the evaluator comes in because then we understand what they're their experience as well.
Yeah, no, that's a great point here, right? Let them walk through this play. Hey, at 4:32, like we all know this happened. You guys had a block charge, double whistle, right? Can you walk me through that play? Say they walk us through this play. But if I was evaluating this game, we'd start with positioning number one, right? Of where our lead is, and I did clip it a little early so you can't tell where that ball, because if it skipped from here, maybe that's why he's over here, right? So we're losing a little context, but we'll pretend that the ball was over here, right? So as lead, again, as we talked about, kind of, you're the general of the floor. Your job is to put our crew in the best position. Do you think you put your crew in the best position in that play? Right? Okay? And if he's like, yeah, I felt like I did. Hey, we had a lot of people, what are the reasons we rotate, right? We go through what are the reasons we rotate. Ball's over there, player, primary matchup, right? We go through the book. And if we're pinching the paint, just to go, right? And we're rotating. Because then our C doesn't have so much to officiate, because they're the only person's officiating all of this right now, right? That's a lot for one person to officiate. This is not, none of this is competitive, right? So then, I would talk about positioning of getting our lead in the best position to put our crew so that we could be officiating this matchup. Then, I think the other thing to bring up is gonna be the double whistle, right? I think Andre said it, could be an area of intersection. However, again, there's two defenders. I think someone said, like Steven said it over here, right? Or Mike said it. Hey, what defenders in coverage should we be having? Who's responsible for who, right? So, the C, and then as outside officials, when we have a double whistle, I'd say, hey, a C, it's really important as outside officials, as trail and C, to be patient with showing our signals. Because that is real hard if our lead comes, luckily our lead was patient and didn't come here, right? Because our C, she was excited, she knew that was an offensive foul, right?
Frankly, you're the only one who's seen
Yeah, they're officiating, they just.
Well, it's just, I mean, they don't have good looks, they're not.
Yeah, but yep, so how can we say that in a better way, right? So, if we were, so that's the thing, so as lead, I'd say, hey, I believe if we would have rotated, we would have been in a really good spot to referee that secondary defender and pick that up and know the league out, right? So that's how to say it, right? And then yeah, so I would say slow to show on the outside, and then obviously you guys didn't get the rest of the context of the play, but we can talk about communication and who had what. So, who's got a block? Who's got a charge on the play? Block? Who's got a block? Charge? Nothing?
That's how he runs in football too.
Four people raise their hands. Four people raise their hands.
Nick went down right.
We got a no call? All right. Any questions? That's all I got, guys.